Thanks to AIA Nebraska, who serves as our partner in the design lecture series. Also, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors for their support, which has allowed us to bring in some great speakers this year, so thank you. And also, thank you to Nebraska Masonry Alliance for being this evening's food and beverage host. If you are an architect and need CEU credits, there were sheets, QR code sheets up front. So scan those on your way out with your phone. And then lastly, there are also lecture series posters you can take with you as well when you leave tonight. All right, with that, let me introduce tonight's speaker. Mindy Aust is a dedicated architect with a passion for public architecture and a strong commitment to mentorship and community involvement. She's devoted her career to the thoughtful design of public spaces, leading multiple award-winning federal, government, public library, historic, and university campus projects. As principal and owner of AIA Architecture, Mindy is a strong advocate for excellent design, believing in its transformative power and its profound benefit to communities. Mindy has served as the 2016 AIA president and was the 2021 AIA Strategic Council moderator. She has received the 2016 AIA Young Architect Award, the 2018 Iowa State University Outstanding Young Alumni Award, and last year's AIA Iowa Medal of Honor. Please welcome Mindy.
Thank you, Ross, and thank you to Maple Street and to AIA Nebraska for inviting me and your neighbors from Iowa over here to speak. Let me know if I'm loud enough. My compatriots in the back. It's a little intimidating. Not you. You're not. Being invited with such, it's an honor to be with such notable speakers that you have put together this year. Okay. I've titled the talk tonight is Design with Purpose. And when discussing purpose for AIA Architecture, the first thing that comes to mind is our people. We are a strong group of 6 people, currently have 2 summer interns in addition to this. Right now, if you take away the summer interns, our architectural staff is 100% women, which is pretty unusual in the profession, if you're familiar with that. We have defined our purpose through 5 central tenets, creating meaningful environments for people, recognizing we design for people and how we can make their lives better in some way, strive for design excellence no matter the project scale or type. All projects are treated equally in the office and get our full design attention and focus. Designed to reflect the community. We've created a visioning process at the start of every project. We believe the best projects are influenced by those who will occupy and use the project at completion, and we want to bring all voices to the table. Promote health and well-being. We believe in making projects that are environmentally sustainable and economically sustainable, and leadership that empowers others. We do that in the office through transparency and education. So hopefully these are consistently in the back of our minds when we're designing, and we're fortunate enough to have clients that share our purpose. So these are a few of the pictures, some we take when we take our final project photography, and some that they have taken in their spaces that we've designed. So I've broken it into 3 segments, and they're relatively chronological. The first one is breathing new life in adaptive reuse projects. The next one is defining purpose, kind of creating a vision and how that's carried through in the design process, and then designing together, which is really kind of community engagement that we've done. So when I started AIA Architecture, this one's a beauty, right? When looking for an office, found a building on the north side of Des Moines. It was bigger than we needed, but my husband and I purchased the building. Fabulous, right? This is where our office is. This is what we walked into. The building didn't have heating and cooling, had very little electrical. and this is the location, so we're kind of aerial view. You can see number 3 is the central business district of downtown Des Moines. 1 is 235 that traverses through. And then there is a Kio Way exit, if you're familiar with it. And we are the triangular shaped building. But it seemed like it was meant to be. Emma Owens Farrington developed the building. She started and owned a Reliable Rug Company where she made rugs. The original building built in 1910, so you think about that. One of the reasons that it was the criterion for it being historic is a successful business owner in the early 1900s. She developed the complex for the building. She did unique marketing techniques where she invited people into the factory to see the processes, thinking that will gain their trust and they'll see how we do it. It's not without controversy. A fire in the 1950s, and you see on the lower right, you can see the building in the background. So on the property, there's kind of an empty little triangle, and somebody in the 80s thought it was smart to have topless girls doing for viewing during your oil changes. So there's picketing. So I think it's come back around now that it's owned by a woman again. It's come full circle. And so my husband and I own it. He was the developer, and I was the architect. So this is a building in 1910 when Emma created it, developed it. The first floor is a factory, and she lived on the second floor. She expanded. There's a work yard in between. She expanded the factory. And in 1920, the city took part of the land from her and cut through Kio Way in a City Beautiful movement. And so she had to reorient the 1910 storefront and created the housing entrance on Kio Way's side, filled in the courtyard or the work yard with a one-story office building and put a skylight in. And then unfortunately, as she did turn it over to her family, and unfortunately the building, the business faltered, and in the 1980s, it has been vacant since then. There's the little quick lube. And then we purchased it in 2020. Windows were boarded up, not original. The skylight was boarded up. You saw the picture, gorgeous. So we have, in 2 years, we're able to get historic tax credits and restore it. So here's a little bit about the plan. It's actually 4 buildings. So on the south, which is where the original factory is now a cafe and an apartment. The work yard is now our office. And then the 2-story portion is actually a mix of 10 businesses. It was the factory. There's large carriage doors on the north. It is now a mix of a hair salon, a photography studio, 2 web branding companies, a barber. So we have a mix of tenants. And it's kind of something I didn't know that I would love, but being part of a community, I get my hair cut in the 2-story portion, and I take clients to get coffee at the coffee shop. So this is that north side before and after. We were able to recreate the carriage doors, 135 new windows. You could see one of the strategies was to anything that is new, we painted Sherwin-Williams iron ore because that's the color of choice of architects, right? So there's a lot of Sherwin-Williams iron ore in this project, but we had to put a new stair in. It only had 1 stair, and we were loading it enough to need 2. That is the original stair on the left. On the right, there was a large freight elevator. We made it smaller into a passenger elevator. You can see the rug hanging in the back on the right. Those green are in place where there were rug hangers from when they cleaned the rugs. We're kind of going backwards. This is our office outside. On the 12th Street side. It's kind of a 1-story with a ramp, and then we have a garden level, I call it, which is the windows down below. So if you remember, this was our office. This is our office now. We did recreate the 60-foot-long skylight that gets some north light. It's really beautiful to be able to see what time of year it is and to see the sun kind of move up and down on that north wall. Some more photos of our office. This is our garden level. And meeting space. The portion on the south, if you remember, this is the original 1910 modification in 1920. This is now the new entrance to the apartment upstairs. So we were able to kind of recreate some of the doors in the storefront and new windows similar to what would have been there. This was the apartment before we started. Got to be careful where you walked. And here it is with new windows, flooding in the daylight. Again, the modern insertions being black. We did design this for my husband and I to move in with our family, and then my kids didn't want to give up a yard. So we rented out. This is the coffee shop, Northern Vessel Coffee. TJ was our first tenant. I think he fell in love with the building as much as we did. That original 1910 storefront was there. There's cast iron columns. It's a wood storefront with reeded glass above. This is his interior before and his interior after. They're very focused on hospitality, and they have an amazing cold brew latte. So if you're into oat milk cold brew lattes, come to my building. He also wanted a tree. Now, we couldn't get a tree, but we did get a rubber plant, which I think is a beautiful focal point. It's a triangular-shaped kind of dining room, so it was his idea. He wanted the kind of communal table for people to sit around and work or to take meetings. This is that original 1910 storefront that was there, and it restored. We were able to reuse all the pressed metal, all kind of in his spot. There was enough. Then I just want to show this. This is their social media, right? This is kind of interesting to me to see how architecture becomes part of the brand of the company. I do bring the age up when I go there, but it's, it's cool to see how they kind of frame the space with their customers. The next project is another historic, but a more contemporary historic. It is in an urban renewal area. It's just west of downtown Des Moines. It is part of a National Historic District. It's on Ingersoll Avenue, which is one of the main thoroughfares that kind of goes through downtown Des Moines. A very successful financial services company was outgrowing the building. You look at it, it's a great building, right? You don't want to mess this up. That was kind of what can we do to not mess this up, right? And I think that is somewhat of our approach is not making it look like we designed something. We wanted to make it look like it could have always been that way. That was the way it was planned in the beginning. But a super cute stacked bond brick building. So we created an addition. We maxed out the side yard setback, and were able to get her additional conferencing space. And then she wanted to bring in a CPA, complementary business aspect on the upper floor up there. And then they do communal lunches. And so we created a rooftop patio. So they have a break room and a rooftop patio also on that second level. It is in a historic district, and we did have a review, we followed the NPS standards. So the zipper was what we call it, kind of in the middle. So the addition, complementary but separate, right? So I do think that, if you didn't know that the building was so handsome to start, that you might think that this was the way it was originally planned. Now, the brick wasn't available. Shocker, right? We could find the right size, but we could not find the right size and the right color. So can you imagine all the architects in Des Moines when they see the picture on the left, right? Who messed that up? Like, what are they thinking putting that color brick? Like, they are destroying it. But the contractor, it was on purpose. The contractor had found someone to hand stain the brick. So you can see they did kind of multiple mock-ups, and it's variable, right? It's not all one color, so they had to mix all of them. So there was an older gentleman and two younger gentlemen that came over from Illinois and hand-stained all of her brick for us. But I thought it was a pretty cool process. I didn't know you could do that. This is the east elevation that kind of fronts the neighbor, but establishing kind of a rhythm. You can see also she took a local artist and blew up one of her pieces, and it became kind of a two-story element in the new stair. Here's plans. On the left of the dash line is the existing that was renovated, new workspaces, and on the right, the new addition with 3 conference rooms and a bathroom, and then upper level, a space that she could lease for a CPA and a break room in the rooftop patio. So this was the building before. They had done some upgrades, but the workstations were kind of haphazard, right? It kind of, when they added somebody new, just kind of found a spot to add them within this space, and we're having some significant acoustic issues. So the new space where you're able to introduce sound absorption baffles, and they work very collaboratively. Those office doors are never shut. So she has 6 women in her firm, and she has one of the offices, and then one for future growth as well. There you can see that artwork kind of coming down under the stair, and the conference rooms on the left, and that stair and the break room, and then the patio door. This is the last kind of adaptive reuse. McGregor, Iowa. Anybody familiar with McGregor? No, because it's under 1,000 people, but it's on the Mississippi River. So amazing landscape. This project is a 3-story building built in the 1860s. You can see the site is phenomenal. Here is the town on the right, our project site down there in red. You can see the Mississippi River. You could see the town was formed amongst the bluffs and the river, right? It's not on the regular grid. And you referred to thing as church side or riverside. So even with the contractor, it wasn't north, south, east, or west. It was what side of the building? Is it on the church side or the river side? Which I thought was pretty cool. And that's just kind of a known thing because there's the Catholic church at the end of the main street and the river at the other end. It is the 3-story brick building with, again, cast iron storefront down below. Now, unfortunately, the project is not what looks like the complete building. The 4th portion is owned by somebody else. So it actually is determined by NPS that it is 4 buildings. 3 of them were our project, which was not the way it was. It is part of a historic district. That is not the way that it was in the nomination for the historic district, so we had to correct that because this is another tax credit project that we did. But I think we found it's impossible to know all the uses that were in this building, but I think even from the very beginning, from the investigation, it had different owners throughout in the different portions. Here are the plans. Now, I don't think I'm going to get another project that has a cave. Now, we didn't do anything with the cave, but I think it's just kind of cool that a project has a cave. You can see the bluff is immediately adjacent to the backyard, but The green are the apartments. There are 11 new apartments and 3 new commercial spaces. We were also able to insert an elevator. Did not previously have an elevator, but I think for the project longevity, for the aging population, there was definitely a need. We recreated stairs where they weren't previously. They had been taken away. But finding an elevator location that was not at the front of the building, but also able to circulate to all the units was a unique challenge of this one. It's a mix of, I think there's 1 studio, multiple 1-bedrooms, and 2 2-bedroom apartments. Now, I did warn some people that there's some ugly photos. So the left is the before. So you could see it's beautiful, right? You have the limestone bluffs. There was this lean-to little addition, that metal, white metal, and creative, we'll call it creative stormwater management. When the contractor removed the lean-to, it was found that the brick was not tied in to the floor structure. So 3 stories of a masonry wall, multiple whites, collapsed. At one point, there was one of the exterior doors that was kind of holding it up, which gave them a little warning, but not something you like to see happen on your project. We were able to rebuild it, recreate the doors. We were able to put balconies on the back that the Sanborn maps at one time kind of alluded to having balconies on the back. And that is something that the town also would allow. They're very more protective of the front than the back. But I think it's the highlight of these apartments to be able to go and sit outside in the quiet, looking at this kind of amazing limestone bluff. You could see the section, for drama, we put the cave in, of course. But you can see the elevator, kind of the way it was cut through the multiple floors. There is a bedrock that's exposed down in the basement, and we had to solve a lot of the stormwater management that was just flowing through the basement previously. So there are also on the 3rd floor a Masonic meeting room. And that was an interesting challenge, taking what was a wide open space and making it an apartment, right? That's tough historically when you want to preserve the volume is one of the defining characteristics of the space. This is the way it was when we found it. There was need for shoring, obviously, so there's some dimensional lumber. There's unique ceiling treatments. The wood floor was covered, but we were able to refinish the original wood floors from the 1860s. So pretty amazing. They cleaned up beautifully. We did a 1/3, 2/3 to divide up the space, which is kind of an unwritten SHPO thing when looking at large volumes. I learned, did not know this prior to here. So we were able to close off 1/3 of the Masonic meeting room volume and create the bedrooms and bathrooms and laundry, and then kept the other 2/3 open. The finishes were pretty subtle. We wanted them to kind of blend. They are not recreating what was there, but it's something that I think just subtly enhances the existing historic finishes. The wood slat is original. We did pretty minimal light fixtures. We did sprinkle the entire building as well. Here's a bedroom on that 2-bedroom apartment. Now we're going to church side. We're on the 3rd floor church side. Another 2-bedroom apartment. We did need to put new wood floors here. There were not wood floors existing. You could see every apartment except for, I think, 2 have a balcony or a patio, so it has its own door. This is a unique one. You can see on the right that scroll. So this was an Oddfellows meeting space as well. So not the same as the Freemasons, but another fraternal organization, I think it was actually co-ed, that had space in this building. And their color is pink, right? That is kind of their color. So we like to desaturate, right, and make existing photos black and white, but we felt like you just don't. So we left those walls were pink originally. You can kind of see the state of the pink room, and we kept it, right? So we were able to kind of match the Oddfellows pink and the new kind of insertion of the same kitchens. This is looking the other direction. You can see amazing views of the Mississippi, the railroad. There's some huge grain silos just to the right there. So the pink room is leased, I will tell you. So those are kind of the beginning 3 projects. Wanted to switch gears a little bit to talk about how we have used our visioning with stakeholders and how they kind of influence the project and are a lens for decision making. We do it at the beginning of every project. And for these projects, I have the vision statement on the first slide. So Urban Dreams, they are a nonprofit organization in Des Moines who are breaking down barriers to success and overcoming obstacles to uplift underserved, underrepresented members of the community. They do a wide range of human services and workforce development programs. The program for this project is a large gathering space for them to use multi-purpose meeting rooms where they might allow organizations to meet, have mental health therapy sessions, a variety of things. There's classrooms for their workforce development, for after-school programs. They have a gaming organization for students. They have administration offices. They have a food pantry. And of course, they have a golf simulator, right? That's kind of the challenge of it. So very economic project, $100 a square foot, right? We reused as much as we could in this building. They were coming from a 2,500 square foot building to a 10,000 square foot building, and they were busting at the seams. They had like storage containers for the food pantry and stuff. So this was very much a need for them. But on that budget, you find ways to do things creatively that can still impact, right? This was an industrial warehouse building for, I think it was like mobile storage things. But the big move here is that line, right? We're able to take the existing concrete, stain it to use their branding color, and kind of, it moves wayfinding through the building, and I think has quite a large impact. The local artist, Indigo Moore, created a mural that represents the creativity and strength of the neighborhood, and has become, for sure, the photography backdrop to all their events. Picture inside that classroom, we replaced the overhead doors, but through donors, branding, they were able to repurpose furniture from a corporation that allowed them to come in and select what they wanted, which was super helpful for the budget. New offices, but you kind of see that wayfinding blue line. And the food pantry. So in 2024 alone, they served almost 23,000 people. And this is the director. He's a state senator, and also the executive director, Isaiah Knox. And they have had over 2,000 rounds of golf there. I think they want to provide opportunities for things that people that are underserved might not have other places, right? So while this was a kind of unexpected donation, it is something that exposes people that might not be able to go somewhere else and use one to the game of golf. City of Des Moines greenhouse. Now, We had never done a greenhouse before, but we met with city administrators, the Parks and Recreation Department, the city architect, horticulturalists, all when defining this vision statement. The person, Colt Stevens, who runs the greenhouse, was our subject matter expert. And so as we went through the configurations of the greenhouse, he was able to share his knowledge. But the vision statement that the greenhouse will support the operations through the innovative and welcoming facility, enhances production, increases efficiency, and provides opportunities for community engagement. Now, we did read that at the start of every meeting. While it seems mundane, it was kind of like, it just reassured people that, yeah, we're all still on the same page, and these are our priorities, and this is what we're moving towards. So that is something we do during the meetings. We start to memorize things, but it's the first slide of all our presentations. The city of Des Moines in 2001 committed to ambitious carbon reductions and clean energy goals, including achieving 100% 24/7 carbon-free electricity by 2035 and net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So partnered with this project, which is adjacent to a decommissioned landfill, is a solar array. 2, actually. So one serves the greenhouse project that we were doing, and the other one serves the animal control facility that is just to the south and west. And 142% of the energy for the greenhouse is produced by just the greenhouse array. Very efficient metal panel system was used for the head house, which is the functions like the offices and the transplanting, the storage, and then the greenhouse, the 15,000 square foot greenhouse, has polycarbonate, guillotine opening, and roof opening, glass roof panels. We did the life cycle cost analysis, and glass proved out. You can see we used a product Duraclad on the inside. So one, it's not something that was to be replaced if flooding were to occur, but it's also something that easily wiped down when the soil flies everywhere, when the volunteers are in here transplanting. We also were able to elevate all of the mechanical equipment, so as a flood precaution if the building were ever to flood. Here's the transplanting space where community groups come in. They sign up for what day they want to come in and help propagate the smaller plants. You can see Colt there watering the plants. He manages it. His office is here. He was with us all throughout the design process. There are solar shades that are automatic, that are drawn when needed to knock down the light. It is an all-electric building, which has allowed it to be net zero. Here you can see the misters. There is bench irrigation as well. You can see the top one is when the shades are open. The middle one is shades are closed, and the bottom one, the misters are going, all the same photo. There's a space outside where all the community organizations, so they grow all the flowering annuals for all the medians and all the community gardens throughout. So if your neighborhood has planters in it, you schedule a time, and this is where they put your plants out, and you come and you get them, and then they plant them. The volunteers plant them. Here's the diagram kind of showing how the systems work. It is all electric, natural ventilation. We do have fans and unit heaters in the greenhouse. It's all automated, which is a huge step from where they were. They had kind of a swamp cooler. I don't know if anybody knows those. So that's the environment they're coming from. So this is like a breath of fresh air that they're able to, the vents work. They're able to have fans, variable flow fans. We were able in the head house to kind of expose the structure and give it a little more volume. Here it is within kind of the campus setting. So on the right is the City Municipal Services campus, so where they're kind of street crew, trucks, things like that. The animal control building is off the page to the left, the solar array adjacent, and then we had the decommissioned landfill. So it says a lot for the city of Des Moines to kind of take this site on. It had a garage for getting your tires serviced in it that we tore down. They were able to purchase and tear down, but it's a great location kind of within the city's campus. Switch gears a little bit. If you're familiar with Des Moines, you're probably familiar with 801 Grand, which is the tallest building in Des Moines. It's an all granite building, which very unique and iconic kind of shape. We were commissioned by a law firm, Faegre, Drinker, Biddle, and Reith. That is the FDBR. They've had multiple names, but Jessica and Anna in my office had worked for them previously while at another firm, and they reached out, and after COVID, they wanted to find a way to, bolster camaraderie, right? Create a social space. I'm sure if you're a designer, you probably have been kind of challenged with this or charged with this from clients. Like, how do you create a space that is social and people want to come back to the office? So a very unique floor plan. The kind of beige areas are the areas that we were able to focus on. So on the left is the lower level. The gray is not their space. So they have private offices because they're lawyers, right? So this building is very in tune with that, right? A lot of corners, a lot of corner offices. But they had kind of an entry lobby on the 33rd floor that's connected with a stair up. You kind of see the stair on the right. I probably can use my mouse. So that stair brings you up and has a social space and a social space there. And then this is what's called a town hall, but a place where they could celebrate, a place where they could not meet, not work, you don't take a meeting here, but you kind of come and relax and just have fun with your coworkers. And then we were able to redo a back of house space for them. So the unique thing, which I think Pete Gaucher spoke here in this lecture series, he's a local artist and instructor at Iowa State. With the previous renovation, had created these benches, which had become iconic to the law firm, right? That was their identity. While they are an international law firm, what makes the Des Moines office special? It was these benches, right? But they weren't used. They were the first to admit, right? It's beautiful. It was something that Pete made that was gorgeous. They didn't want to get rid of them, but we need something different because people aren't willing to kind of sit there. So the idea that Jessica had was to take those benches, flip them, raise them, flip them, and put them on the ceiling. So the repurposed what was a bench and is kind of identified with the Des Moines office is now in this kind of social heart of their space. Yes, above the shuffleboard table. But the kind of, it was a great space before, not gonna lie, but we were able to kind of frame it and create these layers within this kind of open space. A place for food and coffee. They have more beverage making things than I think I've ever seen. We were able to redo the elevator lobby and brighten it up and again kind of create the layering effect within the office. this is where the water hutch bench was. We were able to introduce some soft seating. That is the stair down to the lobby and the elevator. We work our way down to the lobby. There were two of these. So the other one kind of put front and center, right, in their lobby. It's their identity. So the other one, again, was turned and rotated and put right when people come into the office. On the left is the stair, and you could see Pete had also done the front of the reception desk, and that was then hung as a piece of art in the stair. That's Jessica from my office, so give her. Some of you probably know her. She's from Nebraska. Yeah, she went to UNL. But I think she's in Iowa now because she's lived there longer than she did in Nebraska, right? Is that the tipping point? Okay. I'm going to start to go a little faster, right, Ross? Probably. Yeah. So we're gonna, this is Keene. So this is the very first project that came into MA Architecture 6 years ago. And yes, it's still there. It's for Dallas County Conservation. It's a building that, I've been talking about how architecture can support the program and mission. They didn't want the place to become the building, right? They didn't want Keene to be known as a building. They wanted Keene to be known as the nature center. So this is our site. You can see the kind of already cleared area with prairie and forests. This is our site plan. These last 3 projects, this one's in design and the second 2 are in construction. So it's kind of more off the grid. It does have power to the building, but it would have a septic field and horizontal geothermal is planned. It is about how you occupy the space around the building rather than in the building. So the naturalist is actually explaining the kids won't even go in the building if it's nice out. They're going to drop their lunches on the outside, and I'm going to take them out because I want these city kids to go out and be in nature, right? So it really is for kind of the bad weather kind of moments. Here it is, a low roof to try and be a little more subtle. We did have to change the birds because we had pelicans, and they noticed. So, yeah. Here's the 3-season porch. So one of the things that the committee wanted, and specifically Naturals, is this is untempered. It has large sliding doors, so when it's nice, you just open the doors. This is the outdoor kind of teaching space, right? They're going to have students come, sit crisscross, and talk about it there, but you'll be able to look out in the views. We looked at it as important for their fundraising to kind of explain how it's going to be used in the rain and in the snow year-round, and in the evening, I think more for adult programming as well. There's 2 meeting rooms with a movable partition, so there could be smaller classes or larger, but all with views to the outside. The next project, University of Iowa, if you're familiar with it. That's the Iowa River on the right. We were hired by them, and it's currently in construction, to adapt their now called dance building to create functional spaces for the Department of Dance, which is part of their College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, tailored to teaching and research and performance, and in a way that inspires creativity. Small challenge, right? But it is across the street from 2 Stephen Hall buildings, one more recently completed in the last few years. It's a 1966 original building with 2 additions, a 1973 and a 1983, and this was the circulation diagram. The solid lines is you're moving through places you're supposed to circulate. The dashed lines is you're kind of forced to move through rooms, right? It was an art museum. That was how you circulated. You meandered through, right, to view it. Well, when you're wanting to insert dance studios, like how do you rethink about the circulation? So we were able to kind of reintroduce some more circulation, some wider areas used for warm-up before class, and able to denote many of the galleries as dance studios. It did house a Jackson Pollock, which is pretty famous for the University of Iowa. And this is another one where, like, don't mess up this space, right? Beautiful cast-in-place concrete, radial beams, skylight in the middle, clear story lighting. I mean, and it's immaculate shape. We are filling in the floor, not with things that couldn't be undone, but it is bringing it up so that we don't need to ramp down to it, putting in the sprung floor. We are closing in with glass, kind of the openings that had glass railings, but very light touch in this space is the goal. The outside, kind of, it's a low, flat roof, right? We were able to sense now it's going to be populated by students. The south entry becomes very critical. So the south entry, we elevated it up to be sloped walkways rather than a stair, introduced new plantings. You can see on the right, the darker orange is the dance spaces. The lighter yellow, we were able to co-locate the theater. So the theater, costume shop, and costume storage, and there's a classroom rehearsal space. The dance offices up there. There is a motion capture studio that both use, and this kind of lounge space, kind of student gathering space that has views of the river is kind of shared. Here's one of the renderings. You can walk by and see into the studios. Again, pretty decent building to start with, right? The concrete T structure, large windows. We kind of kept subtle insertions and upgraded finishes. A recent previous project infilled a skylight in this area. We're calling this the Commons. It's kind of in the center of the building, but the chair is starting to see this as a space where she could host events. We're introducing kind of a dramatic light fixture, and we're also now extending the project to be a garden outside there. You can see the concrete tees. We're able to introduce some barrel vault acoustical panels, new lighting, new, obviously, mirrors with curtains. If they don't want the mirrors, they can cover them, new sprung floor. There's one studio that we were able to reopen, clear story and roof monitor. So this one has a wood floor for more cultural dances, but also able to create openings to layer to the outside. So you're looking through to the circulation, you're looking through to the river. So daylight was a huge desire by the department. And this is the last project I'm going to show. This is the Reichardt Community Recreation Center, the largest undertaking of community engagement that we've done. It's a 38,000 square foot recreation center for the City of Des Moines Parks and Recreation Department. Robust planning process of 9 months of community meetings. And this was the vision and goals, but generally to serve the community through opportunities for recreation through a vibrant design. But that the planning process, we had goals for the planning process, not just the building, but the planning process be engaging, inclusive, and equitable and just, reflect the collective vision of the community, will be sustainable environmentally and economically. And our guiding principles, this was an underserved neighborhood who had been promised a lot of things and not followed through from developers, from other things. So we didn't want to shy away from frank discussions while being courteous and respectful, collectively strive for racial equity in planning and design for all the community, create opportunities for lasting involvement in planning decisions by all the members of the community, and be clear, specific, and direct so the outcomes are measurable, and incorporate accountability into the implementation plans. So we partnered with Leighton Design out of Chicago, Catherine Darnstadt, who does this a lot in Chicago, and she led the engagement meetings for the community. So there were 6 public meetings supported by over 200 conversations. We found that it was the same group of people. Now, it might have been 50 people, but it was the same people that came to every one and were very, very vocal. We had 2 drop-in opportunities where we set up a booth in the currently it's a YMCA that the city owns the land and the building. We initiated a storytelling project where we hired a videographer to come in and videotape community members telling their memories and stories of the site. We engaged with the youth basketball, Girl Scouts. The basketball, if you bring food, was a must. We had a project website that the city maintained. After every public meeting, we had online input sessions. Postcards were mailed. Parks and Rec visited homes to promote it. We had 70 people on kind of an ongoing email list, and there was an ongoing to the neighborhoods that the city liaisons would report the progress of the project. So we did visit repurposing the building. Overwhelmingly, the community wanted a new building and felt they deserved one. That was the direction that we went after kind of assessing both, and we gave 3 options. The pool was also something that I don't necessarily think the city wanted an indoor pool, but again, they listened to the community members. The current YMCA had a defunct pool, but they saw that as an important cultural part, an educational part of their community, so an indoor pool is planned. It has 2 junior high basketball courts and then a high school basketball court, elevated running track, walking track, cardio and weights, community rooms, and teen spaces. Here's the site plan. It was determined through our planning process. We even had boards where we could allow people to kind of move things around. Right now, the building is right where it says Future Park. That's where the Grub YMCA is. It kind of cut in half the site, right? And the other thing that was kind of a driver is we wanted to maintain that building so not to, services didn't drop, right? So the Grub is still open during construction. So we have located the building kind of on the street front of 9th and College, and that allows then the Future Park to kind of be that whole side with the parking. You didn't have to cross the parking lot to get to the park, right? So there is a sidewalk from the building directly to what is going to be a futsal. There's existing handball, and then future park development that the Parks and Rec is going to do. Site analysis, the building had a 16-foot drop, which we saw as an opportunity, highly visible corner on the corner of 9th and College, and south-facing sun analysis. So we put the pool in the deepest part of the site, right? It makes sense. They put the deepest program. The city embraced the pool idea once they knew they're going to have one, and it's deep water, so they have a diving board able to do lifeguard training year-round. On that highly visible corner, this is a basketball community, highly used by Parks and Rec and by the community. So we were able to locate the basketball court there with the elevated walking track. The community rooms kind of front the front lawn, so they have direct access to that for the front lawn and what is going to be a playground. This kind of spine that allowed this is kind of a walkout, right? But it was kind of a visual connection as you come in. It also is a spot where parents can go and see windows into the gym. They can see windows into the pool. They don't have to be in the pool watching swim lessons. They can watch from the spine. And then a front porch, which relates to the many porches. This is in a residential neighborhood. So being able to kind of use that grade change and also kind of identify a front porch language that resonated with the houses around it. Here's the floor plans, kind of denoting where the pool is, where the gym is. On the left, you enter on the west, the doors, and then you go down the stair and you can exit on the right, on the lower level plan on the right. Here you can see kind of the breakdown. We have a membrane roof. We do have a solar array. We have the porch, which is metal panels and a metal screen kind of identifier. We have precast concrete with a pretty amazing form liner that was pretty cost effective. The openings, there was a significant daylighting study to introduce frit. It's a gray dotted frit where we needed it. It is ground source heat pumps, so we do have geothermal in the kind of community lawn area. So you can kind of see here, I think this does a good job of showing how it fits in. It's not taller than the housing around it. And actually, we were able to not put rooftop screens on it because we were able to prove kind of the sight lines that you would never see it. Here it is. We are currently, Leighton's leading the charge also for a graphic on the outside. Number one, we have a frit there, but kind of an identifier, and this was brought up in a lot of the youth events, the high school events, and the community. They didn't want faces. They don't want themselves on there. They didn't want something that was going to get outdated. So we're working with them to develop a graphic, and this is the state where it is now. Here's the precast metal panels on the east side. Here's the front lawn, which will have a playground on the left. The right is a spot where they have a truck that they pull in. So we have a drop-off zone. They can pull in a movie truck, which has a large screen. So this thought that this low slope could be where they sit and could show movies. It's under construction currently. So these are some of the status. We're probably about halfway through construction. Wraps it up. So thank you very much. Those are 9 of our projects that we have going on. And no, I just appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Ross.
Thanks, Mindy. I've been wanting to have Mindy come speak ever since she started her firm 6 years ago now. So I was glad we had an opportunity to have you come over from Des Moines to Omaha to speak. Again, if you need credits, I have the QR codes outside, and then please take some posters with you. Appreciate it. And if you want to ask Mindy a question in private, you can. We'll be here for a little bit. So thank you, everyone.